how did Victorians dress on a budget? They needed clothes for evening as well as day wear. Well, they had some cool tricks up their sleeves, and one of them is a garment called the chemisette. Welcome back, my lovelies. Welcome to a new video on Victorian sewing. I'm Gabrielle and I make historical garments. I've made several videos so far, so if you haven't seen them, go check them out. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up so I know that you are liking this stuff, and I'll definitely make some more. Now in this video, we're going to discuss some Victorian budget tips when it comes to clothing. Now, the Victorians were very smart and they were very good in making their clothes last longer. Now, in my previous videos, I've already talked a little bit about this. For instance, this skirt has a braid at the bottom that protects it from wear. And if it does get worn, I can just replace it and the skirt will look as new. Now, several of these smart tips were what they used to make their clothes last longer, since fabric was quite an investment, especially if you had like the pretty fabrics like lace and silk and stuff like that. You didn't just want to throw it out as soon as it got worn. Now, another one of their tricks was the chemisette, aka the thing I'm wearing right now. So the cool thing about this, it's kind of like fake. Wait, let me show you. This is my shoulder. So this is just basically a sleeveless bodice that I can wear underneath, and you can add different lace or a different collar and just jazz your piece up a little bit. Now, the nice thing about this, in my previous video, I was wearing this underneath. This will go underneath the neckline and it will give it more like an evening feel. Open necklines were often reserved for evening wear. So this one, I would wear it for a ball, for instance, and this is more of a day wear, so if I were to go visit someone. But the nice thing about this is, if you had a bodice that you didn't really like anymore, or you had worn it to too many fancy parties, you could just start wearing it with different collars underneath and just wear it as day wear and give it a new life again. And also, if you didn't have a lot of money and you only had enough money for one bodice and one skirt, you can just make different pieces to wear underneath, so you can actually sort of pretend it's a new outfit. So I really love this budgeting way of dressing, because this way I have more casual wear with the blouse that I made, and then fancy evening wear and a bit like fancier day wear. This way I have a lot of outfits using only a few garments. So in this video we'll be making the chemisette. I found some very nice accents in the Met Museum again. So some examples are these, and as you can see, they have different collars, different like lace on it. So there are so many different ways you can use this. Also, the cool thing, chemisettes were actually used for a long time, so it is historically accurate for a lot of your Victorian fashion. And also, it was also used at like the turn of the century, so beginning 1900s is also very accurate. I found some very nice examples. The one difference there is that they often close at the back, just like the Edwardian shirtwaists that I have seen so far. So I think it's just time to stop talking and get to sewing. Now, before I'm going to start on my pattern for the chemisette, I'm actually going to show you an original in my collection. Now, when I bought it, the seller could only tell me that it was from around the 1900s, and some things I've seen in it make me believe that it's that old. Other things make me believe it's a lot younger, so I am not quite sure. But I do think we can learn a lot from it construction-wise, the way it was sewn together, and I'll be using it to take a pattern off it, so I have something that would sort of fit me already, and then adjust it from there. The nice thing is there's a lot to be learned from these older garments, because they were just constructed in a very different way, and this one also has a lot of hand sewing. So let's go and have a look. So just like last time, a clean hands, clean table, and let me take off my rings as well. Now, here is the chemisette I have. It was sold to me as a plastron, which is also a name used for it very often. So the nice thing about this, it is in amazing shape. You can tell it is a bit older because there are some holes in the back of the fabric where it's like worn. I'm not sure how often this was actually used, because it looks like this person either took very good care of their stuff or it just wasn't used very often. Now, at the front, you see this very cool collar, which you can tie into a bow or just in a knot, or do whatever you feel like with it. And this is also the only place in the whole thing that has some irregular stitching. The rest of it is all super neat and straight. Now the collar is attached by machine on the collar itself and then whip stitched to the inside of the chemisette. And yes, there's so much hand sewing in this. Now also the cool thing about this, if you have seen my last video where I showed you my antique bodice, go check it out if you haven't. There's some very cool things in there. But this one actually has original buttons. No plastic, no nothing. These actually feel pretty heavy. I think they're mother of pearl ones. They have some wear to them, but yeah, they're in very good shape. Also, you can tell they weren't replaced because the stitches that were used to attach these are so neat and there's no sign of any unpicking here. Also, the buttonholes were made by hand again, and I can tell because the stitching is uneven in some places, and my machine would definitely make it a lot straighter than that. Now on the front it has pin tucks, and these seem to be done by just folding the fabric, stitching it, and then ironing it flat, and then it has like a stay here. The cool thing about the way these were made is they could use a nicer fabric on the part that was going to be visible, and then they would use a simpler, cheaper, or a lighter fabric on the rest of it, so it would sort of blend in with their clothes nicely. So this is actually a very nice example of how several of these could have been made. In my previous video I made a bodice and I didn't have enough lace to do the whole piece that was going to be underneath the neckline, so I just did up until the part where I did have enough fabric, and then I just finished it and left it like that. So if you have less fabric to do it, this is actually a very smart way to make the most out of the little fabric that you have. Now let's have a look at the back. It is all in very good shape except for this one tiny hole. This fabric is so thin but so nice. I really like it. I'll find something similar. Now also the back of the collar is also whip stitched by hand, and these are some very even and neat stitches. This person definitely had a lot of practice in that. And let's see, the collar is also sewn on by hand. Oh, actually, so I thought at first it was sewn on by machine for one part, but it's actually sewn on by hand completely. Yeah, I might cheat a little bit with that and do half it with machine. We shall see. Also interesting, we always feel like we need to be perfect and everything needs to match, and look at this, it doesn't match completely. And on this side it's even more off. Look at that. So here's your permission to not be a perfectionist. I know I need to listen to that myself, but go ahead, they did it before us, so why don't we? And the interesting thing about this is the closure. It is actually a piece of elastic, and it is very like dried out, and this kind of makes me believe it is a lot younger. But the overall idea of this can still be used for Edwardian and Victorian, just because this chemisette or something was used in a lot of Victorian eras. So just adjust the style a bit so it matches your era, and that way you can just reuse your pattern for all different eras you're working on. Now the nice thing is this elastic at the end has a hand sewn loop, so this completely sewn by hand. And that goes around this super fragile mother of pearl button. I think I'm just going to use ties on here. So just tie it on both sides because I feel it's easier than having the closure just on one side. But yes, I'll be taking a pattern of this. And the way I'll be doing that is literally just measuring the whole thing, copying it on paper. I'll make a mock-up and then we'll see what it looks like and take it from there. So let's get to pattern making. Okay, after all that pattern drafting, I have 6 pieces. I have the front and the left piece of the bodice, which is going to be a separate piece, and that is going to be cut out from this pretty dotted, wait, let me open that, you can see it better. No, it's not the inside. Here's the inside. This dotted cotton I found a long time ago, and then the rest of the bodice is going to be cut out from this simple cotton. I do kind of feel like it should be switched around in terms of the thickness of the fabric, but I really like the dotted fabric, so we'll just see how it works out, and I can always make another one if it doesn't work out. I have decided to not make a mock-up. I might regret this later, but I feel like it's such a simple project that, you know, there's not that much fitting going on, so I'll just double check how wide the collar is before I make it, but other than that, it should fit. It should. So, oh, and one cool thing that I forgot to show in the bodice is it actually has some period piecing, and it is very well done. It is pieced at the shoulder, and it is done by hand, made with a French seam. So see, again, period piecing. I don't think we do enough of that these days. Well, I'm going to cut this all out, and then we're going back to the sewing machine, but this time I'll be using my new one, sort of new old one. I found a hand crank sewing machine, and I could date it as far as between 1890s and 1910s, 20s. It is not from a very known brand. It's not a Singer, so I can't look it up in any register or anything, but some of the specific things that I could find on the sewing machine helped me date it as at least like back to that time frame. So it's from around that time. I have fixed it up, and on my Instagram you can see all the cool little videos on the inside of the sewing machine, and I always think it's super fascinating. So I'll be using that one for this project because this is a nice small project, so it'll be a good one to sort of get used to my new hand crank sewing machine, because every single time I work on it, I miss my pedal. Like, I'm looking around like, where is the pedal? But it doesn't have one. It's your hand. So I'm going to be sewing on that. But first I need to cut this all out, and then we can get started. Well, those first pieces took a lot of time. The one thing I didn't realize was how exhausting working with a hand crank was. So at some point I actually had to switch to my normal threadle because my arm was getting tired and I wasn't done yet. So I've realized some things I would have to change if I make this again, and this is why you make mock-ups, people, and this is why I should have done it, but I didn't, and I'll fix it. It's gonna be okay. So I have these two front pieces, my left and my right side, and these need to be basted on the under layer, don't even know what to call it, this piece, and then do the same with the back and like the collar back piece. I called it the facing, but it's not really a facing. And then I can attach the collar, finish the sides, sew this on, get it finished. So I'm going to get basting now, but we're getting there. Well, the chemisette is all done and I'm very happy with the way it turned out, despite its faults, because it's not quite right. Like, it doesn't reach all the way here and it doesn't reach all the way back, so you can kind of tell that it's a fake top underneath, but hey, it's about the idea, you know, that's how you learn. And like I said before, I was probably going to regret not making a mock-up, and I did, so a lesson learned for next time. Now next time I'll definitely reinforce the color as well. The original was not reinforced, but because that fabric was a little bit thicker, it stood up slightly better, and mine does not do that. Like, it crinkles a little bit, so I'll definitely fix that. But it was an easy project, so I highly recommend you making something like this if you're starting out. It is a great way to try some new techniques, like making pin tucks and doing some hand sewing. And I like these small projects because they show result really fast. Oh, and did you see my new boots? Oh, they're from Joe Bear Boots. I will link them below because they have the most amazing Victorian reproduction boots. It was so hard to just choose a pair, but they were great with their advice. They're all the way from Portugal, so I was a little bit scared of ordering shoes online, but they fit amazing. And also they were a present for my amazing husband who supports me in all my crazy shenanigans over here, so I love him very much and I'm so grateful for him. But yes, I am very happy with the way they look with my outfit. It makes me feel proper Victorian, and they're also just very comfortable. So I don't know if you remember, but I used to have this old Edwardian photograph behind me. I've taken it off the wall and I've carefully opened it up to see if I could learn a little bit more about it. Unfortunately, there was only some boring information on the back of the photograph, nothing interesting. It was literally the person that framed it wrote down what kind of glue was needed to close it down, and that it was a rush and had to be done by Wednesday. So I didn't learn too much from taking it out of the frame, but the nice thing is I could actually scan it in properly, take some pictures of it, and then I found an app that helps you colorize photographs. So let me show you how cool that is. So this is the original and this is the colored version. After doing a lot of research for this photograph, it really made me want to recreate her outfit. It just looks so pretty with the hat and the jacket and the embroidery and everything. So that is going to be my next big project, because we already have some Victorian stuff and I'll definitely be making more to supplement this outfit, but I also want to try out some new eras, and Edwardian is going to be next, especially since I'll have a nice picture to work off of. And with all my research, obviously it showed we need undergarments, many undergarments. Now with this outfit, I already have my Foundations Reveal competition pieces that I could work off of, because I already made split drawers, the chemise, and the corset. Now this time, we're starting from scratch. So next video, I'll be starting with my Edwardian outfit, and step 1 is a corset. I hope y'all like this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any of my future videos, and go have a look at all the other ones if you haven't yet. I really love all of you. I'm so glad that you're sharing this little corner of YouTube with me, and I will see you next time.